On friends, a little later than usual, I got caught up playing this game called Sneaky Sasquatch. I got it initially just to be able to connect with my daughter because she's starting to get into the age where she's interested in video games, and I am playing it to be able to talk with her and enjoy it with her, and so we have parallel accounts, and holy moly, it sucked me in. So sorry for the late post. I don't know if you count on these every day, like I do, but anyways, let's jump in. Sorry for the sneaky Sasquatch. Today I want to talk about headlines. I think headlines are one of the most interesting things because they're enigmas. I don't think there isn't a formula, there isn't a template that I think can universally work for everyone. You can use them to like the templates and the fill in the blank ones, like 10 reasons I did 10 reasons X works for Y. Those are simple templates that you can fill in the blanks. I have this I think it's right here. Yeah, this is it's called the Fibs system, fill in the blanks. It's from I think Terry Belcher, and it's pretty good for a fill in the blank template system. It works out pretty well, and it's all this stuff on it. It's these nice little dry erase things, but it, whenever it comes to writing a headline, whenever it comes to writing something that is meaningful, fill in the blanks are always going to fall short, right? I'm a fan of John Romanello and Yogev and that crew at Wellspring Media, and they say, templates are shit, frameworks are lit. And I like that idea. I like the idea that, you can use a framework, you need a scaffolding. That's the language I use because I like the idea of building something. But if you do a fill in the blank, you're always going to sound like everyone else. A fill in the blank is something that AI can do relatively well. And I think using AI for headlines is incredibly useful. Oftentimes, I'll pop my headline into a headline analyzer to see how impactful the computer thinks it might be. And so even this one, like from Terry Belcher, right? It's the main premise. So finally, blank in blank or less. You add in these power words, and it works. It hooks people. But when it comes to writing a headline, let's go zoom in on uh, email specifically. When it comes to a headline with email specifically, the goal of the headline is to get them to click, right? And then once they've clicked, then your goal of your first sentence and first intro is to get them to read. And from there, every single thing that you put down should be hooking them and pulling them through the writing. So if you think about it in a more, I guess, nuanced way, everything you write is a headline because everything you write should be important. If we go back to the three fiction books I recommended Ernest Hemingway for you to read because Ernest Hemingway, he doesn't waste words. He is so succinct. He says what he means. He's tight. And so when you write headlines, your goal is to hook people in and get them to read more. And so there's a couple ways you can do that. You can arouse curiosity, right? So, oh, what is this going to be? That one I think is overblown in a lot of ways, this idea of arousing curiosity. What happens most of the time is that most amateur writers or intermediate writers will ask these questions that either are so obtuse to the reader that they don't make any sense, or they're questions that the person has never asked. Remember, your goal is to think like the fisherman, or think like the fish, not like the fisherman, right? You don't want to think about, all the cool tools that you're using and the rod and the reel. It's like, no, what is going to get them to bite on the line, right? What's going to get them to take the bait? And so using curiosity, I think it works, but you have to be really crafty with that. Using humor can work as well. I think if you can make someone laugh, they'll come along with you, right? Humor is wildly effective. It's also really hard to be funny through your words. It takes a lot of practice, because even a person who's naturally funny in real life may not be naturally funny in their own writing. And so the goal with your headlines, I think there are four reasons people buy books. I think it carries over to the four reasons people might open your email, because you have to think again, if they're busy, they're checking their email like on the toilet or in line or waiting for their kids. They're not checking their email. They're not like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait for you to send me this email. They get hundreds a day, maybe more, and you're one of many. So you have to stand out. Your goal is not to. You're fighting against a lot of other emails, and so the headline is it. So the number one reason people will open your email, you're solving a problem that they have. It's a really easy thing to do. Is like, you have a problem. I understand that problem. Here's a solution. There you go. Simple, easy. The second thing is the second reason people buy books, and the second reason people would open your email is to take advantage of an opportunity that you either show them or they believe exists. Now, this is kind of ethereal, but you want to make them feel like they're in the in crowd. You want to make them feel like, oh, this is something new that I could jump on. It's really easy to sound salesy here, but if you can get this one right, if you can get it perfect, then I'd say you can win here. The third reason, if you can hook them with an idea that they might be fascinated with, if they are really into the thing that you're talking about, then you win, right? Our interests kind of grow in these concentric circles. They start with ourself, the people who are important to us, our community around us, our work, and it kind of goes from there. So if you can find something that is important to who they are and get them fascinated with that, that's a wonderful way of doing it again. So that's reason number 3. And the reason number 4 is they want to live vicariously through your eyes, right? They want to have done something, but they haven't gotten there yet. And so they want to see the world through your eyes. One of my mentors and friends, Jason Stapleton, he is a former military guy. And whenever he tells a military story, it's like interesting to me because I've never lived that. And he'll jump into these great stories about his life in the military, or guys that he's run into, and he's got a great way of telling stories. So those are the 4 reasons that people will primarily open an email, and we'll focus on a headline. I think next time what I'm going to do is I'll take some notes on headlines that are really good, and we'll talk about those. But I wanted to talk about headline theory today, because I think that's more important. If you don't understand headline theory, you're going to have a lot harder time writing a good headline. The next thing you can do is if you make something sound funny or strange, right? Like, that time I almost got into a fight with a guy at the grocery store. It's not a great headline because I haven't worked it, but if you're like, wait, how did they get into a fight with a guy at the grocery store? Or, the time I saved so-and-so's life. Obviously, those aren't great headlines, but I think you can get the idea. Your focus is to arouse curiosity. Like, oh, because again, they're reading this on their phone. They want to be entertained and educated at the same time. That's your goal, is that edutainment, because we're so busy and we're so focused on constantly doing stuff that any of the content that we're taking in has to be fun and it has to be educational at the same time. So that's kind of the broad, 10,000 foot view of headlines. Like, those are the 4 reasons people will open your email, and those are reasons that you want to hit on. If you can hit on all 4, great. Now, the other thing you have to keep in mind, depending on the platform you're writing for, let's again use email. You have to remember that they're only going to see so many words, right? So if you write a 50-word headline and it's fantastic and it hooks them, but they only see the first 10 words, it's not going to work. So you have to really think, going back to Ernest Hemingway, economy of words. How is this going to come across on their email? Because again, open your email app and see what things are pulling my attention, and which ones are having the ellipses at the end where I can't finish the reading the headline. So that's headline. And then in the subheadline, this is something that most people don't even think about, is the subheadline is a continuation of that thought. If you're scrolling through your email, you'll see headline. Then in the gray area, you'll see that subheadline, and it's a continuation of the thought. So if you can grab their attention and then give them just a little bit more detail about what you're talking about and what you're going to dive into, then man, you've got them. I think that's that's one of the things that you can that you can do and implement today that will impact your writing the most. So if you go into like ConvertKit or MailChimp or whatever your email provider is, they'll have a subheadline, and most people just leave it blank. And what it will do then is it will it'll just take the first bit of your text and put it there instead. That's not super effective, right? Because most of us will open an email like, "Hey friend," or "Dear subscribers," or whatever. And having a salutation at the beginning is not wrong, but it should do one of two things. It should either convey your character to someone, right? Oh, hey balloons. It should convey your character to someone. So one of my colleagues, his name's John Romanello. He's the same guy that talks about frameworks. He oftentimes will open up his emails with salutations, and it's one of those things that it's like, salutations? No one uses that anymore, but it speaks to his character, and it speaks to him and how he does business. A lot of really good emails that I read, they don't even have hello, because think about this. Unless you're writing a business email, do you write, "Dear John, comma, enter. Today I was thinking," no, you don't write that. You say, "Hey Anna, I was thinking about blah, 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 blah," or you don't even say hi. You just jump right into the content. And that's another thing that you can really hook into this. In fiction, we talk about jumping into the thought midstream. So most fiction books that you read that are good will jump right into the middle of the story. They don't start at the beginning. They start somewhere while the story is going along. And that feels more exciting to the reader. They're like, "Oh, wait, what is this?" And then you've done what we call opening a loop. They need to understand why you started midstream. They need to understand the story before they can close the loop and close the email, right? We call that also the promise of payoff in videos, right? So if you watch really viral videos, a lot of them are people doing like craft work or something, and there's this promise of payoff. You stop because you're like, "Oh, I want to see how this ends. I want to see what they're going to be doing by the end of it." That's why cooking videos are really popular, or again, simple construction videos. So that's what I want you to think about, is that 10,000 foot view of how do I get their attention, right? And the easiest thing to do, especially if you have a good relationship with one of your clients, is just send it to them. Like send a text message out and say, "Hey, what do you think about this headline?" And or would you read this email? And if they say, "Yeah, I'd read that," then go for it. And you have to preface it with, don't correct the grammar, because a lot of people will jump into wanting to correct grammar, and that's not the way to go about it. What you need to do is focus in on like, would you read this? So especially like people of a certain age, like probably 50 plus, they really like to correct your grammar. Don't let that get under your skin. Okay. So my challenge for you today is write a couple headlines, right? Focus on the headlines that are captivating to you, the ones that make you click, and think about, why did I click on that one, not on a different one? What about this email headline? If you find something really good, then toss it in a notes folder on your phone, or toss it in a second brain like Logseek or Notion or Roam Research. And so you have this running file of good headlines. Because I think one of the things about headlines that is confusing for a lot of people is it's mostly just being exposed to good headlines. And what you think is a good headline, when you write it, you won't know if it's a good headline until you see the open rates. And that's one really cool thing you can do with your email service provider too, is go in there and you can sort by which ones had the most opens. That's the greatest use of your open rate, is looking and seeing which of these headlines did people click on the most. If you have like one that just crushes it, like try and copy that format. Like take that framework and say, okay, play around with the structure again. Don't abuse it because then it becomes formulaic and boring. But if you take that and you kind of study that, you'll become a better headline writer. And as with anything in writing and with copy particularly, you gotta just experience this. Like you can't just instantly be good. I think there's this assumption in when it comes to writing that you're just gonna be good right away. But you got to try it, you got to test it, and you got to see what the results are. That's as with anything in business. If you are an entrepreneur, you got to hit publish. I have this friend, and they have a website, and they've never hit publish on it. I think he's got it going for like 5 years that he's been running this, and I'm like, dude, hey, hit publish, see what people like. And he says, well, I don't really like this, or I don't really like that. And I'm like, okay, brother, like, trust me on this one. Hit publish. People aren't going to begrudge you for not having a perfect thing right away. In fact, they're going to like it they're going to like seeing incremental improvement over time. And so that's my encouragement to you. That's my hope for you, is that you can hit publish today, tomorrow, or the next day. I know we're heading into the weekend, but if you can write something and hit publish on it, man, you're going to be ahead of the game, because the more iterations that you can do and the more data you can collect on your own work, the better your work is going to be. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives you a better understanding of headlines. On Monday, I'll pull some headlines, and I don't know how to do it on the software that I'm using right now, but I might try and get like the background up and put some fancy words up, or run a PowerPoint or something, and show you what good headlines actually look like and give you some exposure to that. Enjoy the weekend, enjoy your Friday, and until next time, this is enough for now. Go write something.